back in Los Angeles.
Couldn't keep us away for too long.
And a keen eye should be able to see behind us and might be able to guess what neighborhood we're in. And we are in
Los Feliz, also known as Los Feliz to a lot of people.
Yep, but because of the song Feliz Navidad and just how we learned it, we are gonna be calling it Los Feliz. So if you guys think it's Los Feliz, that's fine. Don't come at us in the comments. And we are here for a very, very specific reason. Just a little bit of backstory of Discover with Katie and Andrew is you guys obviously know that we love Disney, right?
Yep, we've done quite a few Disney videos.
Yeah, and what would you say is like our favorite part of Disney history?
Walt history.
Yeah, Walt history. We used to live in Los Angeles, and during 2020, we used to walk around all kinds of neighborhoods in Los Angeles, you know, as other people were walking too. And we started a blog just to kind of keep ourselves really entertained at the time. And one of the things we wanted to do was visit all of Walt Disney's homes in the Los Feliz neighborhood, because it was a neighborhood where he lived in many homes within like a couple block radius.
And it was a super fun challenge to research, find where they are, and then just kind of map out his progression, where he started, where he ended up, and how he got there. And it was a really cool, eye-opening timeline to put it all together.
We have visited these homes again and again throughout the years. Like every time we drive by, we'll be like, that's Walt's Kingswell home, or there's his Lyric Avenue house, or we'll do walks and see his Woking Way home, which is a really, really cool grand home that we'll show you guys later. But we wanted to commemorate this on film to show others so you guys can all enjoy it as well, but also just for our own memories, just to have it on film because it's something that means a lot to us.
Come along with us and enjoy some Walt history.
Tour to Walt.
So not to jump ahead too much, but fun fact, this bridge, which is the Bridge of Shakespeare as they call it, and it's on Franklin Avenue, kind of connects Walt's worlds in a way between his original studio and original homes to the end kind of mansion that you'll see. So this is one of the key connecting points. It's awesome that it's obviously related to Shakespeare, one of Walt's heroes in terms of storytelling and history.
To be or not to be, that is the question. Whether 'tis nobler, whether 'tis nobler. We are here at one of my favorite places in Los Angeles, at Walt Disney's original Los Angeles home. If you don't know about the history of Walt Disney, if you're not a crazy Disney nerd like myself and Andrew at Discover, basically Walt is from the Midwest. He was born in Chicago, lived in Missouri, and then right before he lived here, he was living in Kansas City, starting his cartoon business. And his cartoon business in Kansas City, let's just say it flopped. Walt then decided he wanted to move to Los Angeles, the place where movies were made. And he said, I'm gonna come out here and I'm gonna make it work. Walt and his brother Roy decided to venture out to Los Angeles, and lucky enough for them, their Uncle Robert actually lived in Los Angeles, so what luck. And Robert offered to let Walt and Roy live in his garage for the astronomical price of $5 a month, which I don't know how much that equated to back in the day, but it doesn't seem like it'd be that much. But in that garage was where Walt and his brother Roy started what is now the Disney Studios. So a really fun fact is that in the back of this house there is a garage where Walt Disney really started it all, like as it became the Disney company, because his prior company didn't have the Disney name. Another really cool thing is Andrew and I used to walk this area all the time, and this house for years sat in complete disrepair. It was for sale. It was for sale for a pretty high price, so it sat in disrepair for many, many years. And just a couple years ago, and we learned this recently, his granddaughter actually purchased the home, which is really awesome, and she wanted to make it a true like homage to her, you know, grandfather, and who would have, I guess, been her great uncle, would that have been Roy, her great uncle. And they completely remodeled the house back to its former glory. It's a bungalow style home. They now have an homage in the window to the original Disney Brothers studio, and they made it, you know, a beautiful old home again. So if you're ever in the area, definitely come check it out because it is a stunning house.
The next stop on their journey was a extremely long walk across the street to a boarding house. Walt and Roy decided to move out from their Uncle Robert's house and get their own place. And by their own place, they just moved into this boarding house. Don't think they were there for very long, just probably a few months. But the coolest thing I think about both of these houses is that while they started in the garage, their studio, once they officially needed their first place of their own and they said, Disney Brothers Studio is happening, again, as creatures of habit, they walked right down Kingswell Avenue and rented a place, and that's the original site of the Disney Brothers Studio. So literally the same street. 3 things, 1 street. Creature of habit.
We found Frenchie from Grace's house. Beauty school dropout. Da-na-na-na. I don't know the rest of the words. But Frenchie was the beauty school dropout, and look at, there's her house. How fun.
Quick pit stop on our tour de Walt of his houses is the original Walt Disney Brothers studio out here in Los Angeles. So after the Laugh-O-Gram Studios out in Kansas City, they came here, and right down the street again from the Kingswell houses was the first studio. It's now a copy print store, and they have little nods. They have signs, Mickeys. You go inside and there's actually some homages inside. It's pretty neat. It still exists. It's right here. It's now a hipster area, which is of course really funny. But Walt, your legacy lives on here.
And why on earth we did not get our wedding invites printed here is something I do not know why. Why did we not think of this? I feel like this would have been very us. We were walking down the street to one of Walt's other houses and we found these Walt Disney and Roy Disney footprints. And look, if these are true to scale, Roy has some real small feet. Look at this. Like, my feet are pretty small. Walt's are bigger.
My feet are much bigger.
You also have massive feet though. After moving into the boarding house, Walt had a really exciting thing happen and he got married to his wife Lillian. Like many new brides, you can probably imagine that Lillian wasn't too thrilled to move into a boarding house with her new husband and her brother-in-law. So Walt and Lillian decided to get their own place just a couple blocks away on Melbourne Avenue, very close to the studio, in this blue apartment building. Now, there is no definitive record of where their apartment was. The only thing we really know is that it overlooked an alley. So for the purpose of this video, we are gonna say it overlooked this alley, but in reality, there's a couple alleys around it that it could have faced. But they lived here for about a year before they had children. Shortly after, they moved just a couple blocks away to a street called Commonwealth Avenue to another larger apartment that has since been torn down. It was torn down in the 60s, otherwise we'd show you guys that one too. Lillian wasn't a fan of apartment living. She liked the outdoors, she wanted a garden. So after a couple years of apartment living, they were like, hey, this isn't for us, and they decided to move to their first single family home, which is probably my favorite of this whole tour, and I'm really excited to show you guys because there are a lot of cool fun facts that we can share about it, and I'm really excited. Let's go.
The next leg on our journey is to what's called the Lyric Avenue houses. And these are actually two houses next door to each other that were owned by Walt and Roy, yet again living together.
They're twin houses. It's so cute. They're next door and they look like little twins.
And do you know why they're twins?
Because they actually, well, kind of a backstory. Back in the 20s and 30s, you could go in things like a Sears catalog and buy these prefab kits to build a home. And so that's what Walt and Roy did. They bought these prefab kits and they built these identical homes for their families up here on Lyric Avenue, which is kind of on a hill, so they had a little bit more land.
And they were the only two houses on the block back then. And it's actually right around the corner from John Marshall High School, a very famous high school that you've probably seen in a million movies, including The End of Grease. That's at the football fields, but they used it. Leonardo DiCaprio went to school there. Very popular, famous school.
What's also really cool about these houses is they were really like Walt and Roy's first foray into their success. They had just built their brand new studio right down the road here, and they built these two single-family homes right next door to each other to kind of celebrate that success and the fact that they could kind of move up to the, you know, at the time, the hills of Los Angeles. Not quite the Hollywood Hills. That'll come later though.
There's lots of little touches on them on the stained glass windows. You can see a crest, and they look really neat. I'd love to go inside, but never been able to do that because they are private residences.
This is our dream one day, to buy one of these Lyric Avenue houses. So if these ever go for sale, and if by somebody who owns this house, if you guys happen to be watching this video, consider us. I don't have that much money, I'm assuming, to buy this home.
but we'll buy it at a quarter of the price.
And we will preserve the spirit of Walt and Roy. I will preserve the Walt spirit. Andrew will preserve the Roy.
Seeing as they moved into this house in 1927, that was before Mickey Mouse. And legend goes that after Walt came up with the idea of Mickey Mouse on the train, after getting rejected, having Oswald stolen from him, he came home, and in the garage of this house, Walt, Roy, and Ub Iwerks came up with Mickey Mouse and worked on the original cartoons while still under contract for Universal. So secretly starting their way to get away from that contract. And then the success of those Mickey Mouse cartoons are, of course, what set the trajectory off for Walt's career and really led to the Disney company that we know today.
Moving on up, and Walt moved way up. We are now a couple miles up the hill from downtown Los Feliz, where Walt had lived originally, and this is the house behind me that Mickey Mouse built. So we told you the story of how in Lyric Avenue, Walt and his brother and Ub Iwerks were working on Mickey Mouse. Well, Mickey Mouse, spoiler alert, he was a success, and he built this epic, like Tudor style manor. Walt Disney was about to have a baby, and him and his wife wanted more room. They had this Mickey Mouse money, and they decided to build this house, and rumor has it they built this house in 2.5 months. Apparently it was built during the Great Depression when a lot of people needed work, and so lucky for Walt, he had work to give them, and he had this epic mansion built. And this house is amazing. It has panoramic views of the city of LA, and we have a very special treat. We are gonna get to go inside the house tonight. We have been dreaming about this for years. There's a foundation that does tours of this home. The owner, who is a Russian horror movie director, actually works with different organizations to give tours, and we have been looking for these tours, everybody, for, gosh, 5 years, and we've just happened to see on Facebook that they were doing one when we were going to be in LA. Here we are, so I'm really excited to go tonight. I know Andrew's really excited too. I know we can't film inside, but we can film a little bit of the outside, and I'm so excited to share it with everybody. Yes.
Walt lived here with his family for, I don't know, a good 20 years or so, right up until the 50s when he got mega money, like beyond Mickey Mouse money, all the Disney money. And that's when he moved out to Holmby Hills, where he was neighbors with like the Playboy Mansion and like legit celebrity mega billionaire type mansions. But this is probably the most well-known place that he lived. This is the one where he raised his daughters. It's kind of the classic. So I am super stoked. I'm super excited. We used to walk up here during 2020 and that pandemic time. This was one of our regular walking paths, and we'd walk by Walt's house and go, man, one day we're gonna be able to get in, because we were always out of town whenever they would do a tour. But this time, we're making it in.
By far the most exciting part of what I like to call our tour de Walt is something that we have been waiting to do for, oh gosh, what?
5 years?
5, 6 years now. And we always happen to be out of town when this tour is
Always.
going on. And now we live in Florida, so you guys know that. So like we are technically out of town now.
But the gate is open. We have permission to enter.
And
so we're
we
gonna
are
go in.
finally gonna go to Walt Los Feliz mansion, or Los Feliz, or whatever you want to call it, but we call it Los Feliz. Feliz Navidad.
Let's go.
5 years in the making. We have had stuff come up every single time this tour has come up. It only comes up maybe once or twice a year. We have been really wanting this. We just happened to have a trip planned to LA, and they happened to have the tour come up, and so we are stoked. It was meant to be. One thing that I've noticed right away just from Walt's driveway is he had an incredible view of LA. Like his house is up on the, or at least this house. So this is the house that he moved in before he hit it like mega rich, and he moved to Beverly Hills and built his mega mansion. He lived pretty much all throughout the Los Feliz neighborhood of LA, and this was the final house he lived in on Los Feliz, and he built it on the top of this hill, and it has an incredible panoramic view of all of downtown LA. So Walt knew what he was doing when he built this house, because, you know, he has this wonderful view. And I mean, the people still live here today, and they have this incredible view.
Katie, we are officially in Walt's driveway.
We are in Walt's driveway, and it's really cool. You guys can see it's dark out because this is actually a tour of Walt's home, but also a Halloween ghost tour. Ooh.
Spooky.
But the house is all lit up. You can see it behind us. It's like that purple and blue. And I'm just excited, one, to see one of Walt's former homes.
Yep.
From the inside out. I'm also really excited to just see the inside of like a Los Feliz mansion.
Totally. I
know.
mean, we've walked through around these neighborhoods 100 times, and I've never gotten to go inside one. So this is like the best of both worlds.
And this was our like COVID thing that we did. We walked around neighborhoods in LA, and this was our #1 neighborhood that we used to walk around. We used to walk here, I mean, multiple times a week. And we lived in Orange County, which is, you know, an hour drive away. And we used to drive up here just to do this walk. So we're really excited to, one, see like Walt's house, and two, see a house from the neighborhood we just loved walking.
Come along with us, and we're gonna go see if the spookiness ghost of Walt is haunting us.
I feel like you have the spookiness ghost of me here with this light.
I know.
Ooh.
We won't be able to film inside the house, unfortunately, but we will be able to film outside here on the veranda, and I believe a little bit in the backyard. So we'll try to get as much footage as we can. Otherwise, we'll take photos and we'll tell you about it afterwards.
That was really awesome. We got to see the full inside, get an entire tour of Walt's home, hear about how it was built, and see all the different rooms. So I'll definitely have to tell you guys about it because it had a lot of really cool features. Katie and Andrew from the future here. As you can tell from our background, we are not in Los Angeles at Walt's house. We are in our house.
Woo!
We wanted to take some time just to give our thoughts on Walt's house since we weren't able to film inside. It was really, really cool. We learned quite a few things on the tours. First of all, we wanted to give a shout out to Dusty Sage, who owns micechat.com and who runs these historical tours of Walt Disney's Los Feliz mansion. It was an awesome tour. Dusty Sage was really, really passionate about the home.
He's a great host.
He's actually a caretaker for the home a lot of times in the off season when the owners aren't able to, you know, be in the home because they do have multiple homes. I mean, obviously they're very wealthy because they own this fancy house. He clearly had a passion for the home. We learned a lot of cool things about Walt's history and his family's history, and about some of the other residents of the home, which was pretty cool too. I didn't really expect that.
So it's currently owned by, I'm going to get this wrong, Russian film director Timur Bekmambetov.
Bekmambetov. We're reading it off a paper here. We're probably butchering this. Sorry, Timur.
He does a lot of Russian films, but you'll know him in the U.S. He did Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, and apparently he's a super big horror film director, but he really enjoys Disney, and he spent his time collecting Disney art as a way to invest rather than just go through the banking system. He said, why not invest in Disney art? And then, of course, in Walt Disney's home. So all throughout the house, he has original hand-drawn and hand-painted Disney artwork, which he changes up seasonally depending on what's going on. So that was awesome to see.
Immediately when we walked in the home, one of the first things that you're met with is, one, the stunning architecture. Walt built this home himself, so it took a lot of inspiration from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, which is really cool because they were making that film around the time when he built it, or they were starting to make it. Like Andrew said, it had a ton of Disney art. I kind of thought the guy had bought the art just because he bought Walt Disney's home, but no, he owns tons of Disney art, and he does change it throughout. And let's go ahead and say what were our favorite parts of the house. So why don't you go first?
Well, my favorite was easily the screening room. Walt has a screening room, and we'll show a picture of the side door where you actually can go from the outside into a metal screening room that protects the films, because he used to watch the daily reels at home and all of his animation, live action film reels. So we got to sit in his studio. They had Ichabod and Mr. Toad and the Headless Horseman playing, because of course it was horror, it was right around Halloween. But that was super cool to see, and to be sitting in the room where probably Snow White was seen for the first time, Pinocchio, all the classics were there. That was awesome.
Yeah. And my favorite part actually has to do with another holiday, which is Christmas. And it's in the backyard. We have some photos of this too. But on the first Christmas in the house, Walt Disney actually had a replica of a Snow White cottage built for his daughters in the backyard. So it was super cute. It was like this tiny replica of a Snow White cottage, and his daughters apparently said it was their favorite memory of the house, was having this cottage that they got on their first Christmas morning in the house. So that was really special, really cool, and it was just a cute kind of Disney storybooky touch, and it really went with the kind of Tudor style of the house itself.
Strongly recommend the tour. There's tons more. We don't want to give it away at all because we want people to go on the tour. We learned a lot about, you get to go in all the bedrooms, you get to go in the awesome living room. That's a party living room if there ever was one. You see more on the outside. You get to learn a lot about past residents, including a lot of ties to some infamous LA horror and murder history, which we did not know going in, but a lot of really cool connections that you'd only get by doing it in person. So strongly recommend.
But if you guys are interested in taking this tour, I will warn you, it is a little pricey. It is a couple $100 or so. But if you look up Walt Disney Storybook Mansion on Facebook, they do tours anywhere from 1 to 4 times a year, sometimes based around holiday seasons like Halloween or Christmas, sometimes just standard tours, but every tour is apparently different. We were talking to some other people on the tours, and they were telling us that, you know, just because you took the Halloween tour doesn't mean it's the same as the standard tour. So,
or the daytime tour from the night tour.
Yeah, definitely recommend it. If you guys are interested, it is a really cool experience. Thank you for coming along on our Tour to Walt video edition. Until next time.
Cheers.
Maybe you guys will get some more LA adventures. We are here where it all started in Walt's Los Feliz journey.
So unfortunately, we can't film inside the house. However, there will be a few spots from the outside. Hold on, let me start again.
I think we can get King's embroidery on it. I'm not sure. If you do that, then I think
that was Mickey after he drank the LA water. 100 years LA water in you.
It's funny, all over LA, there's some great Disney graffiti art.
There is. It's usually a little, you know, creative. I think is a good word, and it's design.
Also, if you look way out here, you see a little bit of glowing light? That's the World Series going on. Katie says,
Go Dodgers!
go Padres.
Roaming the halls of the monastery, all of a sudden this monk would
Wait a minute.
this guy dressed as a monk would
This is all the Shakespeare I got.
The Taming of the Shrew,
I mean, I don't know the lines of the Taming of the Shrew.
Hamlet, aka the Lion King.
I mean, I know movies based on Shakespeare's plays, but I can't recite any more verse to you.